Good morning and welcome back to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to continue our look at the HexTech 6mm terrain from Gale Force 9. Now, this is compatible with and primarily designed for use with Battletech, whether for games of Alpha Strike or in your traditional hex-based Battletech. And while I wasn't originally planning on picking these up, I guess it's actually been a couple of months now since I saw them on sale, I decided that I would pick them up and let you all know what I think. Now, the interesting thing about these is that they do come from original 3D files that were designed for just 3D printing. In fact, I actually have most of the files already. So later on, I will actually be doing kind of a compare and contrast review between 3D printed style and these pre-cast, pre-assembled versions from Gale Force 9. But before we get into this, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content, whether it's miniatures, board games, role-playing, or honestly anything in between. If it's interesting, I like to cover it. In addition, there are going to be links down below to Amazon, DriveThruRPG. There are a couple of affiliate links if you choose to use them. It does give a little bit of a kickback to the channel. Now, it's not required, but obviously it would be absolutely appreciated. So, with that out of the way, let's flip over and take a look at today's model, which is the TCPD Precinct house. All right, so in the box, you are going to get both of these models. They are identical as far as their design. The only difference is the paint scheme. You're going to get one in gray, you're going to get one in brown. You also get these base plates. Essentially, this is supposed to turn it from Alpha Strike, where you don't need the hex base, into Classic Battletech, where you do need the hex base. These are the same size as your the bases for your Battletech figures. In fact, I have my trusty gargoyle here to demonstrate. You can see he fits more or less right on there, and they will fit on standard Battletech maps. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that these buildings are actually mech scale. They are not map scale. So, if we put our gargoyle right next to it, you can see that this building is going to come in at about 5 inches tall. It's a little bit shorter than that, in fact. Like if we put it here. So right now it is at this baseline right here, and you can see that it's coming about halfway up. Close enough for government work. But it is mech scale, so do keep that in mind if you're going to use it on a map. Typically on a Battletech map, your buildings are usually going to only occupy maybe a hex or two, whereas in this case, it is occupying 8. Looks like 8 hexes worth of space. So, other than that, it's nice, beefy, has a velvet bottom here so that it does not scratch up your table. And as you can see, it is pre-painted. Now, that's where I'm going to be a little bit more critical. First off, it's great. It's pre-painted. I'm going to take this, I'm going to throw it on the table, and I'm done. Okay? But if you're somebody who is a little bit more particular about your paint jobs, if you are concerned about how it's going to look at the table, you do need to keep in mind that these were painted in a factory in Malaysia, and you kind of get what you pay for. The normal retail cost on this box is about $35 or $40, which is not uncommon for Gale Force 9. But as you look, you can see, like right in here, that's supposed to be sort of this little ridge line, and the paint is just completely slopped around. Some more there on the window frame. Quite a bit for the blue for these windows here. You have some minor mold lines. For the most part on these buildings, mold lines have not been an issue. But it is a resin cast. Be aware you're going to see that from time to time. But for the most part, they have cleaned them up pretty well. But then you also have other issues here where like the paint is really thin and they didn't go back over it. Again, over here, oh, sorry. Not a lot of attention to detail, thin paint, sloppy painting. You know, from a 3-foot distance, you know, having these at arm's length, it'll be okay, but it's just something to keep in mind, you know, if it's something you're concerned about. You know, looking at these windows, lots of extra slop around the windows. So overall, I mean, at the price that I paid, and I got these on clearance. I don't know why the store decided to clearance them out. These have been out less than a year, but they weren't getting rid of all of the line, but they were getting rid of quite a bit. So I don't regret paying what I paid, but I was also getting it for more or less half off. I would struggle to justify these at the full price. If you can find them on sale, I would absolutely recommend it. But it's just one of those things. Just keep in mind that, you know, there are definitely some lapses in quality. We have the same issue here on the gray building. We've got some slop there with the brown. More here. More for the windows. You know, again, good on the mold lines. The dry brushing, the detailing. One thing I love about the buildings, there's tons of detail. These little air conditioning vents, the piping, the mechanical units on the roof. All of that is fantastic. I have zero issues with the actual design themselves. The biggest failing on these really does come down to the actual paint jobs. Now, with that said, if you are willing and you wish to do it, you can repaint these. It's not hard. But that does sort of defeat the point of buying the pre-painted buildings. Would I pay, say, $25 instead of the normal $35 to get them unpainted? Maybe. That seems a lot more reasonable. I don't know exactly how the cost breakdown comes into it, but I mean, am I willing to sacrifice a paint job and have to do it myself? But probably get something better? Probably. So that is the biggest complaint that I've had over this entire series, is that on the buildings, a lot of these paint jobs are just rough, and they look like they were painted by small children in, you know, a sweatshop factory. You know, whether they were or not, I'm not trying to actually cast aspersions. It's just kind of how the old joke goes. You know, and it's frustrating, especially when you're going to pay, you know, $35 for 2 buildings. So, comparatively, you know, if you're going to 3D print, obviously you have a high upfront cost. You're probably looking at $2-3 worth of filament to print out these buildings. But we'll get into that in a later video. So overall, these are good. They're good sculpts. They're good casts. But the paint job absolutely leaves something to be desired. If you can find them on sale, I would not say to not get them. You know, just keep in mind that, especially because they are hand painted, it's even going to be mixed. Maybe I got some stuff out of a bad batch. I don't know, but just keep that in mind. So overall, I'm kind of mixed on these. I can't give you a 100%, you know, absolutely go out and do it, but I'm not going to tell you not to either. But come back later and we'll talk about the 3D printed versions. Maybe that might be a better option for you. So With all that said, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time. Do make sure if you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. Comment down below. Have you gotten these? Am I getting a bad batch? Is there something wrong with these? Let me know. I'd absolutely love to hear from you and maybe get a slightly different perspective on these. But other than that, thanks for watching, and we will talk to you next time.